Hey everybody, Drew here for DrewDat and DrewDat Games here on YouTube. Today with the 9th episode of the DrewDat Podcast. Joining me, my younger brother Desert Nord, as just the two of us today. Hey bro.
Hey there.
Because we're starting to film this earlier than usual for reasons behind the scenes here. On today's show, we're going to be talking about the PS5 is losing traction in Japan because of Sony's bullshit censorship policies. We're also going to be talking about Microsoft tried apparently to buy Nintendo back in 2001 and got laughed out of the room.
Yeah.
Which well, I'll get more to that when we talk about it. Disney is apparently going into the gaming market with Lucasfilm. We'll talk about that. And Bethesda is released a trailer for a new game recently, and we'll talk about that as well. And the game will be developed by Machine Games, the guys that make the Wolfenstein series. Spoiler, it's not Wolfenstein.
No kidding.
Well, you would think that the studio that makes Wolfenstein for Bethesda, if they release a trailer, it's a new Wolfenstein, right?
You'd think,
but
it's
not.
They don't want to mess that up.
Well, they did with the last one, so.
Sure, I mean they don't want to dig themselves any deeper with that.
Yeah, but obviously the Disney and the Bethesda thing are gonna be the title of the show here.
Yeah.
But we'll get started with the PS5 is losing the Japan market, and all reports are pointing to because of their censorship policies of Japanese games and therefore the Japanese gamers. Yeah. If you look at the willingness to move the headquarters to Los Angeles, the willingness to buy into the woke culture here in America with games with The Last of Us Part 2, which has uncensored sex in it. Meanwhile, anime breasts are apparently worse than fucking.
Yep.
And when I say anime breasts, I mean fully covered anime breasts are worse than fucking, apparently.
Yeah, it's all about the image that they want, I guess, women to be portrayed as manly or something like that.
Yeah. So
they don't like the idea that women would be over accentuated.
Any surprise that Japanese gamers are abandoning the PlayStation brand? To me, no. Because
sure,
for me,
and you know better than probably a lot of people that the Japanese, especially the animated Japanese culture, is full of over-accentuated women. So no kidding, they're going to reject this move.
Which, coincidentally, on Steam, I've been looking for games like that recently on Steam, so.
Yeah.
Because Steam is still allowing them, so. So, thank you, Steam. And Gabe Newell, who runs Steam and whatnot. But, yeah, and if you guys know me, you know how much I've been straying away from PlayStation lately. Myself. To the point where I've even thought about just unhooking the fucking thing and just never playing it again.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I think about for years and then ultimately wind up sometime in the future just going, fuck it. Which is coincidentally how I wound up buying Call of Duty Cold War, which is supposed to be coming today. Or yesterday when you're seeing this, because you'll see the unboxing tomorrow on the channel, which I will film after this podcast, once the game has gotten here at least. But yeah. Oh, and by the way, Call of Duty Cold War I'm gonna be playing on Xbox. So good job, Sony. You're convincing me to play games that you have exclusive content for on your competition's console. So there you go. With that said, anything else to add about Sony losing Japan?
No, I would just say that it's sort of inevitable. they had a choice to make, and they've made it. I really just hope it hurts them as much as possible, because it's dumb as hell, and it makes very little, common sense.
Now, with this being said, the question does have to be asked: what platform is taking over in Japan? Well, you know it ain't Xbox because they rejected that outright from the very beginning. Yeah. There's only one thing left. Nintendo is running Japan now.
Yeah. Which is completely apropos. It's totally like what you would expect.
Yeah.
So.
And rightly so, especially when games that are being rejected for PlayStation platforms going to the Nintendo Switch that Japanese audience want.
Sure.
And not being censored either.
Nintendo willing to open itself up to more adult titles, that's exactly what the Japanese audience wants.
It's exactly what gamers in general want, honestly. It's not really exclusive to Japan.
Not to mention their entire consumer base from the 90s are now in our 30s. We're still interested in kiddie games. We want, 30-year-old male or 30-year-old period content, not 10-year-old content.
To a degree, we do still like those games because it takes us back to that age. But at the same time, we are adults, and we also want to play, like, Sense of Cyberpunk Ghost Story, Cyberpunk 2077, once it's fixed.
Yeah, sure, there's always guilty nostalgia involved.
Yeah.
Nostalgia will always be there for those old characters and those old, game series. That's true and fine. But going forward, it's going to be hard to keep the attention of the audience of Nintendo if they don't do that, growing up phase into more adult titles.
I have two examples that I'm going to show on screen right now of a game that I never played as a kid, but I wish that I had, or a series of games, and a game that is geared more for adults because of the ratings, for sure, and among the content. So, for example, the kids game that I like, Spyro the Reignited Trilogy. Just ignore that these are PlayStation 4 games, guys. Spyro the Reignited Trilogy. And on the flip side of that, Dark Souls Remastered. Both ends of that spectrum. Both great games, and I enjoy both of them. Adults can like kiddie games too. What's that?
The part I would say, bro, that made Sony PlayStations so successful is because they came right at a time when everybody who had previously played Nintendo as kids hit their late teens and early 20s.
Yeah.
And it was time for more adult content to filter into their life and mind.
Yeah.
And Sony brought it big time.
Yeah. Well, that and Nintendo did Sony dirty, hence created the PlayStation 1 in the first place.
Yeah.
With the deal, because if you guys don't know, the original plan for Sony and Nintendo was for Sony to make a CD add-on to the Nintendo platform, which ultimately Nintendo went behind Sony and went with Philips and pissed off fucking Sony to the point where they went, fuck it, we're going to make our own system. They did, and then beat Nintendo.
Yeah.
So, Nintendo created the PlayStation. Technically.
Yep. Well, I was just talking about the age arc of most gamers.
Yeah. But, and you're absolutely right. But,
the average age of the gamer has gotten well into the 30s now.
Yeah, I'm 36, so.
And so, naturally, those people are not aching for games designed for 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds. Obviously, we're way more interested in games that regard adult life and adult problems and adult scenarios.
Yeah.
Which is something, again, Nintendo had really, really not wanted to do for a long time.
And now they're finally going there.
They've been trying to stay, in the kiddie game realm, and it's really not been working.
The shit really hit the fan with the Wii U.
Yep.
And then when the Switch came out, they were still doing some of their censorship stuff, but then ultimately, somewhere along the way, went, you know what, fuck it.
Yeah. And Nintendo has really relented in giving up to the adult titles. Meanwhile, Sony is getting itself spun into a woke tizzy about, these gender problems and issues.
And then
some of which are imagined.
And then recently, Microsoft had did that with one game recently too, which had me going, really? You're gonna go down this path too, Microsoft? But it was just that one game, so at this point anyway.
It's kind of funny to think of how Microsoft fits into this whole thing, because you remember what I always said about Microsoft is like, Microsoft has never really needed their gaming division. They've just had it there because they felt like kicking Sony in the back,
Well, this is their golden fucking opportunity without doing anything. Don't change censorship policies. Don't do anything. Just release games on your platform. Release your platforms. You're going to kick Sony's ass because they're kicking their own ass right into a hole in the ground.
Yeah, so if you can imagine an image where you have Nintendo getting kicked in the ass by Sony and Sony getting kicked in the ass by Microsoft, that's pretty much what this all was.
And right now, Nintendo is kicking both their asses right now with a weaker system, so ha.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of Microsoft evidently, according to reports that have recently come out, tried to buy Nintendo back in 2001 and got laughed out the room. Now, if you cast your mind back to 2001, what else happened that year?
Yeah.
Something major released in 2001. What the hell was it? Oh, yeah, that's right, the original Xbox.
Yeah.
Microsoft obviously was getting into the gaming market, and they wanted to do it at the top, obviously, with trying to buy Nintendo, but they got laughed out of the room in 2001. Could you imagine that if Nintendo had sold to Microsoft in 2001, where we would be at right now?
Yeah, that would be a lot different landscape there.
Yeah, it would be just Microsoft / Nintendo, or whatever it'd be called at that point, against PlayStation only.
Never forget how much weight Nintendo tried to put into its 04 move into the gaming realm, which it already had been in, but it was trying to reestablish its dominance in 2004 with the GameCube, and it almost worked, but not quite.
Yeah, they were right there competing.
Yeah.
But
then they fell right back into the,
they
mess with the Wii later.
Well, with the Wii, you can dispute that it wasn't a good move, but you can't argue with how popular it was with casual gamers, though. Which Which at the time there was a lot more of them at the time.
They tried to kick Sony's ass at that point by targeting non-gamers.
And it almost worked.
Yeah, they've had a lot of almost worked moves since the early 2000s.
Yeah, but
except for the Wii U, that was a complete faceplant.
Yeah, but
the Switch has been an amazing resurgence for them. The Switch has been the king. This whole period.
And honestly, in my opinion, it's not due to just the Switch and the games itself. It's due to everything in between.
Yeah.
The Switch is different functionalities, the games on it, Sony seemingly burying themselves alive.
Yeah.
And then Microsoft turning into Nintendo on a bicycle, just going down the street going, what are those two doing? Who cares?
Yeah, well, Microsoft has been able to sit on its laurels since the since the 360 release.
Yeah,
the 360 put them near the top.
Yeah,
Sony has been trying to top Microsoft ever since.
Yeah, but you can easily make the argument that the generation of the Xbox One was almost a failure for Microsoft.
Oh yeah, I can make that. That would definitely be true. The Xbox One was a major misstep for Microsoft.
And given the launch of the next generation, it's still not current gen because no one can still buy one. And yeah, I'm going to keep saying that until they're widely available on store shelves.
Yep. Yeah, both the PS5 and the Series X have been complete misfires of the gun, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they thought they had a bullet in the gun, but it was an empty shell.
Well, you might
both
laughingly
consoles.
say that they fired blanks.
That's exactly what an empty shell in the chamber is. It's a blank. That's exactly what that is. I just chose not to say blank.
It makes a flash and it makes a loud noise, but nothing happens.
Exactly. So, no, that's exactly why Nintendo's on top at this point. I wish I had a Nintendo shirt that fit. I should look into getting one. But, yeah, until the next gen is widely available on store shelves, there is no next gen at this point. The current gen is still PS4 and Xbox One and the Nintendo Switch at this point.
Yep.
Pick which one you prefer. If you're asking me, I suggest the Switch. Because you can get them on store shelves and they're not discontinuing them like Sony and Microsoft are with the current gen top hardware. So, because the Xbox the Xbox One X is not being manufactured anymore, to my knowledge. Sony has discontinued the PS4 Pro for sale, to my knowledge. And you can only basically, for the most part, order a standard PS4, which is stupid. To discontinue your best version of your console, okay. And yeah, they're putting all of their eggs in the basket of something you can't buy.
Yeah, they put themselves in a pickle. Right at the exact time that we're to the main point of your discussion here.
Yeah.
Right at the time when they're deciding to make mistakes, essentially, in the content department, they're also having a pickle in the console department at the same time.
Yeah. Quite.
I don't see how they can shift away from those two major mistakes right now when they're steering into it. You know what I mean? They don't even think it's a mistake. They think things are going wonderful with the release of the PS5, and it's really not.
How wonderful could it really be going when most of your consoles are sitting in some scalper's basement or attic, not downloading games, which coincidentally is where you, Sony and Microsoft, make most of your money from software sales. You're not making sales on software on those particular systems. And when your systems that are sitting in said basements or attics of scalpers outnumber those who actually bought one to use them, you got a major fucking financial catastrophe on your hands.
Yeah.
Which means you're selling the systems at a loss, you're losing money hand over fist on lack of software sales.
Yep.
The only money...
Yeah, everywhere they make a profit, they're not getting sales because they haven't had their consoles rolled out properly.
The only sales they're getting are on in Sony's case, are the hundreds of millions of PlayStation 4s out there still downloading and playing PS4 games. That's where they're getting their money. And they're starting to discontinue those systems for sales, so they clearly don't give a shit. Microsoft, on the other hand, Xbox One is fully reverse compatible with its complete game collection on Series X, so I keep hearing. I don't know that from first hand because I can't get a fucking next-gen system. Because nobody can. And it's also compatible with the library from Xbox One that is reverse compatible from the OG Xbox and the 360, and then more games are supposed to be added later anyway. Microsoft clearly cares about the past, and cares about where they're trying to go at the same time. Hence why Halo got delayed, unlike Cyberpunk. Again.
Yep.
Which means I have hope for Halo Infinite at this point. But we'll see what happens.
We all know that on the Cyberpunk issue, they should have, after they had to delay it the first time, they should have just said, instead of delaying it and delaying it and delaying it repeatedly, they should have just said, look, it's delayed indefinitely, we'll let you know when a new release date comes up.
That would have been better.
That would have saved everybody the anger of expectation.
Yeah. No, you would have had the anger of people going, oh, we want the game now. Yeah, true. So did I, but in the end, it would have been worth it. Because look at what we got.
Yeah, I still can't figure out how you're going to go and release a game that when you play it on your different formatted consoles, you don't notice that it's massively bad.
Yeah.
Like, some consoles it works really great. Some setups it's perfect. But others, it's really bad.
Yeah, it's been getting worse and worse on Xbox One X at this point for bugs.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of the updates coming out or what the hell's going on, but I'm pretty sure it's because of the updates, and it seems like the bugs are just getting worse and worse, and they're not actually getting fixed from my point of view.
Yeah.
Which has me thinking, yeah, I'm not sure if I just want to keep playing through with my current character right now. Even though I had been and was yesterday. But either way.
Yeah, no, unfortunately the game needs to like almost be back to the drawing board overhaul. It just does.
Yeah. There's too many fucking outdoors and everything.
You spend so much time on it that you'd be like, why does it even have anything wrong with it?
I actually, last time I had the game up, I did some exploring in my own apartment building. Do you want to know what I found?
What'd you find?
Every single door except the one on my apartment is locked.
Uh-huh.
Every last fucking door in my apartment building. Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, a fat lot of good that does you. I mean, so fascinating. A game where you're supposed to basically be playing a thief, but you can't get into any of your neighbors' units to actually be a thief.
And you can't go into any business to steal anything either.
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red, please get your act fucking together, because you were on top until now. Now you're down by Microsoft and Bethesda at this point.
There's more random doors and places to go steal things in Fallout 3 than there is in Cyberpunk 2077.
And Fallout 3 came out in 2009, I believe, right?
Sure. That sounds right.
8, 9, somewhere along those lines. That was well more than 10 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
Let's see, 2021 now. So 2011 would have been 10 years?
Yeah.
So like 12 years ago. A 12-year-old game did stealing shit from random places better.
Yeah, I mean, granted, you'd have to learn the lockpicking skills well enough to actually get in them, but they still have something in there to find. You know?
If you guys see the camera shaking, train going by, I apologize for that.
Yeah.
But yeah. I hope that shit doesn't happen again, but it's the gaming industry, of course it's going to. So, to move on to the next topic here, the second to the last, apparently, Disney is I don't want to say reopening, because cast your mind back to when Disney bought Star Wars, and they supposedly closed down LucasArts, right?
Yeah.
Evidently, it's come to my attention that they didn't actually close it down. They just had a skeleton crew as a go-between between EA and Lucasfilm. But apparently, they're going to be revamping LucasArts under its original name now, Lucasfilm Games. is now going to be publishing games.
Yeah, we would hope that it would be a good thing, but we don't know, do we?
Well, on paper, it's a good thing. On paper, at least. Because on paper, this would suggest that EA's days are numbered for their exclusive Star Wars games then.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, but EA's contract is supposed to expire in 2023, so I keep hearing. And if that's the case, then after 2023, we should be seeing more Lucasfilm Games games at that point.
Yeah.
And considering that it's Lucasfilm and Disney themselves, and according to the article that I saw, they're going to be working with the industry's best developers. So that suggests anyone other than EA.
Yep.
And we also have proof of this because basically the same day, Bethesda released a trailer in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games.
Yep.
And
you'd think that would actually be a marriage made in heaven, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't trust it at all.
But I want to see how this goes because this Lucasfilm game published by Bethesda and developed by Machine Games is in fact a new Indiana Jones game.
Yeah.
The only reaction I had when I saw the reaction on someone's, I believe it was Drunk 3PO reacting to the trailer, I went, wait, what? The first thing...
Yeah, it definitely came out of nowhere, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the announcement of Lucasfilm Games came out of nowhere. And then Indiana Jones being the first game out of the gate for this partnership with someone, and it being Bethesda, is Indiana Jones. That came even further out of nowhere, as far as I'm concerned. Because what would have been the first thing that you would have predicted that Lucasfilm announced for anything gaming related? Would it have been Indiana Jones?
Yeah, it does seem odd.
I would have expected, because of the Mandalorian and whatnot, I would have expected like maybe a Mandalorian game.
Yeah, like, are they ever going to make a game called The Mandalorian Wars? We kind of like it.
Yeah. And it would have obviously featured like Revan and Malik in it. It would have had to.
Well, sure, it can feature a lot of things. It's a wide open topic. There's some rules, some ground rules there about the storyline and the events, sure.
But still,
and a lot of us are familiar with it already, but there's a lot to be done there. There's a lot that could be done.
I don't remember the name of the last Indiana Jones game that I played outside of Lego Indiana Jones games.
Sure, that probably was the last interesting one.
It was definitely published by LucasArts at the time. I think it had something to do with like the Staff of Moses or something like that. It was...
I thought it was called the Staff of Ra, actually.
Well, the Staff of something.
Yeah.
And I remember playing like about an hour of it, and then I got distracted by other games, like I always do. But yeah, the fact that Machine Games, the developers of the Wolfenstein series, are going to be making this this new Indiana Jones game, whatever it's going to be called, is actually exciting news, because this is proof then that Lucasfilm Games are going to be working outside of EA.
Yeah.
There's already proof of that now. So, with that said, other people have suggested that Rockstar make a Star Wars game. I would love a rated R Star Wars game, honestly.
Rockstar and Star Wars. So I guess they call it Rockstar Wars.
Anyway, but
that would actually be pretty funny and interesting.
But in the vein of reviving Star Wars 1313, but made by Rockstar.
I can tell you this right now, the game would sell a bajillion copies if it were a Star Wars game with the quality of Red Dead 2.
Or the quality of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, or that.
Now, when I have criticized Grand Theft Auto 5 in the past, it wasn't for its quality whatsoever, far from it. It was merely from the three protagonist thing.
Yeah.
It didn't quite work for me whatsoever. But overall, the world, the environment, the gameplay was the best that I've seen even to this day for some games. Even games coming out today like Cyberpunk can't compare with the physics in Grand Theft Auto 5. Like running over NPCs in Grand Theft Auto 5, they look better than trying to do it in Cyberpunk.
The absolute modability of the game.
Yeah, even though apparently Rockstar doesn't like when you do that, but either way.
No, of course they don't. They don't like when you do that because it alters the game. But
yeah,
nevertheless, this is for gamers' sake. This isn't for game developers' sake. They're not making games for themselves. They're making games for gamers.
So, from the trailer of the Indiana Jones game being made by Machine Games and published by Bethesda, evidently some people are gathering from the trailer that this might be centered around Rome mythology.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good to me. It's Dr. Jones, so let's see what happens.
There's actually a lot that could have been done with the Indiana Jones story that never got to happen because, you know, people were thrilled and happy with what they already got, and frankly, I think Lucas and Spielberg got bored with it.
Yeah.
I really do.
Well, either way, we're getting a partnership with Bethesda and LucasArts, Lucasfilm Games. Fuck it, they're LucasArts to me. The hell with it.
Yeah.
I don't give a damn what they call themselves. They're still LucasArts to me.
Yeah.
So, if I call them LucasArts, then fuck it, I don't care. But, when talking about who would be better for Star Wars games, one of the companies that I was throwing around prior to Fallout 76 was in fact Bethesda, so.
Yeah.
We'll see where this goes.
That's why I said it would be, normally you'd think it'd be a marriage made in heaven, but we don't know.
We'll see what happens, because considering that Bethesda doesn't own the entire, well, they don't own the rights to Indiana Jones, that's Lucasfilm, so they have to bow down to Lucasfilm for this. Which means that whatever Machine Games makes, it's up to Lucasfilm to what they're allowed to do. So.
Sure, and it's probably going to go through the Lucasfilm filter and come out a pile of crap on the other end.
Well, we'll see what happens. Because on the one hand, Machine Games is capable of making a good game. That's for sure. But I'm highly interested to see if this is going to be Uncharted-like or how far from Uncharted-like it could possibly be. Because if it does compete with Uncharted, then Naughty Dog is fucked, although they already are.
yeah, double fucked.
They fucked themselves, and then they would be getting fucked by Bethesda. I can't believe I'm saying this.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that we would be talking about a game from Bethesda to compete with Uncharted?
Yeah, I didn't think so either. Definitely.
In an action-adventure type game, if that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because what are the comparisons here? Nathan Drake, who do you usually compare Nathan Drake to? Lara Croft and Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah, that would be the combo.
Yeah. And Lara Croft has had better games, has had games that competed with Uncharted. And Indiana Jones has been dormant for like the last 20 years, I think.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, but you're talking about the, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull film, but pretty much everybody panned that one.
Well, I'm talking about games in general here at this point.
No, I know. You just meant. I thought you were just saying like Indiana Jones the series
Well,
was dormant for 20 years.
well, I'm talking about games. If we're talking about Indiana Jones entertainment in general, what year did the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull come out? Wasn't that like
Yeah, late
2000, like
2000s.
11 or something like that?
Yeah, somewhere in there. I forget the exact year.
So it's been like 10 years, potentially,
Yeah.
since an Indiana Jones film. As far as we can recall, anyway. But yeah, Bethesda, Indiana Jones is coming at some point in the future. If I had to predict a release date, probably 2025. You?
Yeah, which, by the way, bro, you'll remember we actually went to see that one in theaters.
Yeah, I do know that.
Yeah.
And
Boy, that was a little bit of a letdown, eh?
well, I believe when we left the theater, you were let down by it. I was indifferent to it, as in like
Yeah.
I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, it sort of insulted my intelligence a tad. I'll just put it that way.
I enjoyed just having Indiana on the screen. There was certain things that I didn't care for it. Like, well, for the first half of it, Indiana turning out to be like a deadbeat dad. Kind of like Han Solo in the sequel trilogy.
Sure, the whole retconning of his character and all that.
Yeah. But
it was really kind of unnecessary.
But then he turned into what you would expect Indiana to be as a dad when he actually learned that Shia LaBeouf's character was actually his son, and then he went into dad mode. You're going to college and getting an education. So, second half of the movie, he was Indiana Jones as a father. So, the second half of the movie I liked, with the exception of the... I don't know how I feel about the alien thing, though.
Sure, there's a lot of junk they jammed in. I mean, a lot of unnecessary stuff that... I mean, okay, granted, you can go that way, but you're detaching yourself from reality a tad when you do that.
Yeah. But overall, it was...
But our overarching point is, what is this new game gonna be even about?
Considering Bethesda's usual style games, I would probably expect an open world or an attempt at one, an open world Indiana Jones game from Bethesda, because that's usually what they do.
Yeah.
But it's not Bethesda Game Studios. Keep in mind it's Machine Games. So you have to look at what they've made, though, instead, which is the Wolfenstein series, so you can only compare it to that.
Yeah, so like, is there going to be a lot of like warfare theme to it?
Well, considering that the trailer apparently, according to people, suggests ancient Rome or Rome-like culture supposedly in the trailer.
Yeah.
I guess Indiana's gonna be going to Italy then.
Sure.
So we'll see, I guess. But like I was getting at with Machine Games, in looking at the Wolfenstein series, specifically the recent ones, those are generally when the gameplay is going on, like in first-person view. I hope that they don't do that.
Yeah.
Because in Indiana Jones, you want to see him with the fedora, you want to see him with the whip on his hip.
Sure, and you want to see him doing his archaeology work. I mean,
yeah,
that's the whole mystique of the entire series.
Yeah, so if it's in first person, it's going to be a failure at that point. At least for me, anyway. If it is in third person, then like I said, I want to see Machine Games try to do an Uncharted-like game with Indiana Jones, because that's what it needs to be.
Well, here's a challenge that I challenge Lucasfilm / Lucas Games / everybody involved to do. Try not to insult the existence of the character. I know it's really hard for you people, but try.
Yeah, well, it should go without saying, which is why I wasn't saying it.
No, I know, but I have to tell these people that because they love doing it with Star Wars, so why not screw up Indiana Jones while we're at it?
So with that said, while we're speculating to close out this episode, because I got nothing else written down here. Oh, there is one thing that I didn't write down, which I will talk about before I get to, well, I'll get to it in a minute, but speculating on what would be next for Lucasfilm Games. After
I have no idea, but I think they're just going to keep getting woker and woker and woker about it.
Well, keep in mind we're talking about the gaming side of Lucasfilm here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I expect them to do with their stupid fuck politics, but considering that we haven't had, like, Lucasfilm or LucasArts games in forever, I'm going to approach it with a wait-and-see approach, and then call shit out when I see it, like I usually do.
Oh, yeah. Benefit of the doubt is an important concept.
But with that said, here's what I'm thinking for beyond Indiana Jones and Bethesda and Machine Games. In 2023, EA's contract with Lucasfilm is set to expire, and i.e. Disney. And from the vibes I get from EA, you can tell that they don't expect to get the contract renewed, and they shouldn't. But there's also rumors right now of a Fallen Order 2 coming. Those are rumors at this point.
Well, that'd be okay as long as they don't, if they go the same route they went with the first game, and they just make it a continuation, they don't try to screw anything up too bad. That'll be fine.
Yeah, if it's still with Cal and his group. Going into the sequel on something else that they have to do during the dark times. And then if, like, they end that game with, like, the main character's death and whatnot, it would be a fitting send-off to the EA Star Wars license at that point.
Yeah.
Because that would mean that, obviously, the developers of Titanfall, Respawn Games, I was just trying to remember their name, obviously wouldn't be making another Star Wars game then at that point, unless Lucasfilm goes on a game-by-game basis with EA, which at that point I'd be fine with, as long as they're not doing it exclusively for Star Wars games at least.
Yeah.
So with that said, who do you want Lucasfilm Games to actually work with for Star Wars games? Considering we know that Bethesda is not working on a Star Wars game, they're doing Indiana Jones.
Well, they don't have a lot of options. I mean, a lot of the developers are busy at work. I mean, they're already stacked with titles backed up because of other titles. So I mean, it's not that there wouldn't be a lot of developers who'd like the opportunity, but I don't know if they could handle it.
Well, I know, in the case of EA, they have BioWare, so I would want them to actually make KOTOR 3.
Yeah.
As probably the internet does at this point still, too. But beyond that, if I look at others, anyone else other than BioWare and EA for KOTOR? For me, yes. Obsidian Entertainment.
Sure, yeah. I'm still waiting on theirs. I mean, again, it's another development group that I think it's kind of like interrupted in some way.
And secondly, from what I understand of people that work at both Obsidian and BioWare, both companies would love to do another Star Wars game.
Yeah, of course.
So with that said, I say let Microsoft publish a Star Wars game on their platform, and considering Microsoft's approach to publishing games, this means that there's a good chance that they would have it published on Nintendo and PlayStation as well at this point.
Sure, but that begs the question, would they be able to get it done within the next 10 years and have it be a decent game?
We'll see,
These are questions we have to ask.
But keeping in mind that this is just speculation on our part, because none of this is confirmed.
Oh yeah, of course not. But I'm just saying,
so
is it even plausible that it would even get that far?
So therefore, I would want, well, hell, considering that the previous two were only on Xbox, fuck it. I would want KOTOR 3 or Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 3, made by Obsidian, published by Microsoft, on the Xbox and PC only at this point. Because that would give people a hell of a reason to get an Xbox.
Well, that's true.
And trying to get Xbox to compete is like trying to get a donkey to go down the trail who's in the middle of shitting himself.
Yeah.
But then again, that analogy can be said even more so about Sony at this point when it comes to shitting themselves.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. All right, the overarching theme here is that the Star Wars community, what's left of it, is absolutely famished, absolutely starving for decent writing, decent gameplay, decent content.
Decent movies.
Yeah, decent movies, especially that.
Or movies in general, considering that movie theaters are basically dead.
Yeah, and I mean it's like all over but the crying with Star Wars at this point.
Yeah.
And so I mean we can imagine things all day long, but it's like a conquered territory at this point. You know what I mean? It's like forfeit to history at this point.
Before I move on to the last thing that I do want to talk about that I didn't actually have in my script here, because it's something that was recently announced for Nintendo, but I'll get into it in a minute. I want to send a direct message here with my voice here on the podcast directly to Lucasfilm and Disney at this point when it comes to Star Wars games. The best thing you could do would be to allow the major platform holders to make not only exclusive games to their platforms for Star Wars and Indiana Jones or whatever licenses you guys have, but I'm specifically talking about Star Wars here, i.e. Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation, or Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft, and also Steam, and whatever PC services that are out there for games.
Yep.
Or just allow whoever of those publishers to publish the game on whatever platform they feel comfortable with it. That's the best thing you could do for Star Wars gamers at this point. Because could you imagine like Steam having like a Star Wars action adventure game, that also being on the Switch and PS4 and Xbox and so on?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, you could pick whatever platform you wanted. Me, I'd probably play it on Xbox. But still, the fact of the matter is this. If you want Star Wars gaming to be a success, you need to allow the console manufacturers and whoever is running PC, Steam for me, to actually be able to publish and have their studios that they have under their umbrella making Star Wars games for their platforms. It would produce a lot of Star Wars games, so in some cases quickly, in other cases it would take a while. And yeah, so to Lucasfilm, please let everyone who wants to make a Star Wars game potentially make one within reason, because obviously some people are going to have stupid ideas. But all I ask is that you give the major platform holders a chance to pitch something to you. Because in the case of Sony, who would I want to make a Sony exclusive Star Wars game? Who the hell made Spider-Man? Well, first of all, Sucker Punch will be a good one.
Yeah, you mentioned that before.
Yeah, and in Insomniac Games. That's who made the Spider-Man game. So Sucker Punch or Insomniac, whichever one you want. And again, I say fuck Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
In the case of Microsoft, Obsidian, fuck 343 at this point, because they haven't done the best job with Halo so far.
Yeah, the verdict's completely out as far as I can tell.
Maybe the Initiative, but they haven't actually released the game yet, so.
Uh-huh.
And their first one is supposed to be a Perfect Dark reboot, so.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But for Microsoft, Obsidian is the front runner because of their history with Star Wars. In the case of Nintendo, I don't know anybody's name, but just pick somebody. Specifically, whoever made Breath of the Wild, I'd say.
Oh yeah, because I mean, they certainly knew how to add a lot of high detail.
Yeah.
It was truly a beautiful title.
I have the case here. Hang on. It's not actually saying. Just says Nintendo.
Yeah.
Well, fuck it. Nintendo. And whoever studio made Breath of the Wild, thank you. But yeah, could you imagine a Star Wars game in the style of Breath of the Wild? Running around as a Jedi?
Great.
Yeah. A little cartoony, but a little realistic at the same time.
Yep.
That would be wonderful for a Nintendo exclusive. But anyway, with that said, speaking of Nintendo, evidently they have announced a new bundle for the Nintendo Switch, a Mario Anniversary bundle, which is blue and red.
Yep.
Now, when I checked this out, at first I was thinking, so they actually are doing the Nintendo Pro thing? No, it's just a bundle for Celebrate Mario, So there's another bundle for you guys for the Nintendo Switch. If you don't have one, you can eventually get the Mario one, which is an interesting thing because I think the Switch screen is red and the dock is blue, so that's an interesting color match.
Oh yeah, it's a classic one, isn't it?
Yeah. With that being said, that's all that I really have here. Do you have anything, bro?
No, I didn't have anything new for this week. I mean, really, it's been a slow week in the gaming department.
Yeah, it's been a slow week. It's been heavy in other areas, which we almost wrote into the script.
Yeah.
When it comes to free speech and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Which that's obviously under attack, but maybe we'll talk about it at some point in the future after everything settles down, but we'll see what happens.
Yep.
With that said, what have you been playing?
Oh yeah, well I've been getting more into my Xbox 360 collection from long ago. I've kind of noticed I have a limited number of games left with anything to do on them. I really should get myself some new 360 games.
Well,
or maybe used, but you get my point.
Yeah, well,
used to me.
I got a ton of games I could suggest that you may not have.
Yeah.
I would suggest trying Dark Souls on the 360.
Oh yeah, I know that one's a challenge.
Yeah. I don't know if you have the Dragon Age series.
No, you always had that one.
Yeah, well, I would suggest trying that one. I would suggest probably avoiding number 2, because that one sucks. But Dragon Age Origins is obviously the best in the series. And then Dragon Age Inquisition. Well, it did come out on the Xbox 360, which is where I originally had it, so it is available for that system. And it's not really that bad, but it doesn't compete with Origins.
Yep.
But what games have you not played that you have yet, or not finished?
Well, I was trying to get back into the whole Assassin's Creed series. Now I have a whole bunch of titles for that one.
Yeah.
But I don't have a whole lot left to do on any of them. So that's one of those series where I kind of should get newer titles for it.
Do you have Rogue for that series?
No.
Yeah, you should do that. Because I have that for the 360, and I also have the remaster digitally for PlayStation and Xbox, as in Xbox One and PS4.
Yeah.
I believe you finished Brotherhood, right?
Oh yeah.
And then there's also one that I don't have, that's Revelation still, which you and I avoided like the plague.
Yeah.
At the time. And then
and you know Unity was crap.
Yeah, I have it right here for Xbox One, but since they patched it, it's kind of decent.
Yeah. Once they patched it, it was way better. But
yeah.
Which
I still haven't played that yet.
Yeah.
But that's only, to my knowledge, on Xbox One, so.
Yeah, so it doesn't count.
Well, you do have an Xbox One, you're just not using it right now.
Sure. It's like, it's like a nice, it's like I have a Lamborghini, I just have it covered in the garage, you know what I mean?
There's the Halo series, which I don't think you've played.
Yeah, I haven't really played much at all. I have played it technically because my friend, one of my friends that I went to his house in Minnesota back a couple of years back, I played it there. But aside from that, yeah, not really.
So therefore, obviously the first Halos 1 and 2 were on the original Xbox. I don't know if they got a re-release or remaster for 360. They definitely did with the Master Chief Collection on Xbox One. But Halo 3 and 4 and ODST you can play on the 360.
Yeah.
There's the Far Cry games. I don't think you've played all of them.
No, certainly not all of them, no.
You've played 2 and 3, right?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I played 2 and 3.
And Far Cry 4 released on 360 and Xbox One, so.
Yeah.
So, and then there's the rest of the Mass Effect games for you.
Yep.
Star Wars The Force Unleashed, you haven't played.
Well, I did play it. I just didn't play it on 360, I don't think. Or maybe I did. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I do have a save file on my Xbox for that one.
That was probably from me at the time.
Well, I think we both played it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because I have the physical copy here of it.
Yeah, of course. And then there was Gears of War.
Well, yeah, and I have all of those physically here. I took those with me.
Yeah, I missed that game series.
And then there's Halo Reach, which is, in my opinion, the best Halo game.
Yep.
So you got to play Halo Reach if you play any Halo game.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah. Those are. We should
probably wrap up, huh, bro?
And one last suggestion: the BioShock series.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's something that you should think about getting and playing. As well as Dark Souls and everything else I said. But with that being said, lately I've just been playing Cyberpunk at this point. I really do got to get back to Watch Dogs Legion because I got to film the the next episode that I promised to do is supposed to be for that, so I gotta get back to playing that, which I'm gonna try to do right after this. Depending on when I wind up being able to do the unboxing of the games on the channel, which is going to be at some point today, hopefully.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then the Call of Duty Cold War unboxing will air tomorrow. And then, because it is, well, actually, this airs tomorrow. Actually, fuck it, the Call of Duty thing will air today on the channel, and then the Cobra Kai one will air on Friday.
Yeah.
Just to try to split up the content on different days. Because if you guys know me, I don't like releasing multiple things on a single day unless something weird's going on.
Sure. Yeah.
Speaking of
you
which,
don't like to overdo it.
yeah. And at some point, I am thinking about doing a reaction to the trailer for the Indiana Jones game, if I can find it.
Yeah.
Without somebody else reacting in the video to it. So it's just a straight trailer on YouTube, hopefully. But with that being said, this will do it for episode 9 of the DDG Podcast here on YouTube.com. Thank you for tuning in. From me and Desert Nord and Gucci, whom I did not hear from, which is fine, because I was probably going to ask him to take the day off, because it was just going to be about gaming stuff today anyway.
Yeah.
Although I was going to ask him to take the day off because of what we were initially planning to talk about,
everything else.
Yeah. The dust up on social media with free speech and whatnot. With that being said, thank you for tuning in. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Go check out DDG Games for me playing games live. I really got to get back to playing stuff on there. It's been almost a week again.
Yep. Getting backlogged, huh?
Well, not really getting backlogged. Well, I've been backlogged for years for games, but to the point where I'll be backlogged for probably the next decade. If not the rest of my life. But there's just getting an ever-increasing gap between the last time I played a game and whatnot, on stream and whatnot, so. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, check out the other channel for the gaming content. And, with that being said, follow me on Twitter for the time being, so long as I'm still on there. Parlor is down, so don't bother with that. But you can find me now on MeWe as well, under my usual name of DDG, so. And you can find him on MeWe under his real name as well, right? That being Rob Nyers. With that being said, we will see you guys in the next one. Peace, love, keep gaming, and I hope Indiana Jones turns out well from Bethesda and Machine Games. Love you guys. Have a good rest of your day. And fuck Naughty Dog.